Shalom and welcome to Kapparoni. In today's video, we will dive in the topic of Nikud. The Nikud is a system of diacritical signs used to represent vowels, which help to distinguish between alternative pronunciations of the Hebrew consonants. Okay, now let me provide you a brief history of how the Nikud came about. The Nikud was developed in the early Middle Ages. At the beginning, used in order to keep the right pronunciation of the Tanakh reading. Now, you might be asking yourself, Kapparoni, what do you mean they had to keep the right pronunciation of the Tanakh reading? Aha, and that's a good question. So the reason is because the Jewish people were exiled from their homeland many times. Each time, they had to learn the language of the country they went to, so they could live, work, and, even creating friendships. The use of other languages for so many years adversely affected the Israelites' Hebrew pronunciation, especially for the newer generations. So this led people to adopt the Nikud in order to correctly read the Tanakh. Later on, people started to use the Nikud in other text forms, like, for example, in biblical text, in letters, poetry books, and what have you. So we can say that in this way the Israelites were able somehow to keep the right pronunciation of Tanakh and a way of effectively communicating. Okay, not everything was perfect regarding the Nikud. Why? Because it was messed up. Almost every other community in the exile wanted to invent a Nikud methodology of their own. They created a Tverian Nikud, Babylonian Nikud, Eretz Israel Nikud, Eretz Israel Tverian Nikud. Gosh! Instead of a consistent way to maintain proper pronunciation and a foolproof way to read the Tanakh, communities were left with a variety of different Nikud methodologies. Wait. Not all hope was lost though. Over time, the Tverian Nikud methodology began gaining ground and was adopted by most communities. Don't get too excited, guys. The problems are not done yet. The pronunciation of Hebrew today is based on the pronunciation of Eretz Israel, while the Nikud marks correspond to the Tverian Nikud methodology. As a result, the Nikud is somewhat artificial. Some of today's Hebrew pronunciation are not reflected in the Nikud marks. And yet, some of the Nikud marks are not reflected in today's Hebrew pronunciation. Another important point I would like you to remember among the challenges of Nikud. It's relatively easy to learn to read with Nikud, but knowing where and how to place them requires extensive knowledge of the Hebrew language. Okay, so now after you have known some background about the Nikud, it's time to become familiar with how the Nikud is utilized nowadays and how it might help you. All this and more waiting for you in the next video. Hello! Wait! Like, share, and subscribe!